Welcome to another episode of Just Elite. I'm your host, Christelle, and with me today is Feeroozeh Saghafi. Fee, welcome to the show. It's an absolute honor to have you here. How are you doing today? How's training going in your off season?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Training in the off season is quite relaxing, I have to say. I just came back from a nice friend vacation. We went on, it's almost like my first vacation, like quote unquote, like vacation in, I can't remember how long, honestly. So it's honestly been so nice. I've been taking a step back and we went to New Jersey, got on the beach, got to relax. I got to eat so much food that I typically don't eat. And I'm kind of feeling it today, but no, it's been great because it's always a season to take a step back and not be so consumed with training and gym and training again and just doing it all day. So it's been nice, but I'm excited to get back. It's actually within starting this week, we are back and staying focused and looking forward to a really big season.
Speaking of a season, you had a very, very successful 2021 season, just missing not making it to the games. You had some illness at MAC, and to talk to us about your season in general, starting from the start. You had a very good open as well. Going into the season, I mean, obviously the hopes was to make it to Madison.
Yeah, so yeah, this last season, like considering, I guess, not qualifying, I personally, I was very proud, and it was my best season yet, which was even more exciting but unfortunate at the same time. So like I just remember open, most people just kind of train through the open. We're not necessarily preparing specifically for the open, considering how many people they were taking now and all those different changes. You didn't have to be in the top 20. Just had to be in that top 10%. And quarterfinals was probably like one of my best world, like international performances on the online qualifier side. And I just remember that weekend and just like leading up, like I just felt strong, prepared. The engine was there, like everything that I needed to do my job well was there. And that was just so exciting. And then just getting ranked, that process leading up to, we find out that we go to the MAC and it ends up being against some of like my best competitors, which when you compete with the best girls in the sport, it just makes you, that much more top notch and performing, in a way that you've never would be able to do alone or maybe in a different setting. And I think there was a lot of maybe different opinions on how things were ranked and, top girls here and there, but I thought it was the best thing for me, actually, even though maybe other people didn't think that, but it definitely had me fighting. But the MAC then was very hard, not because I was unprepared. I thought I was more than ever prepared for it. I just got very sick. And like, even to this day, like sick, I just remember Friday morning, like leading up to it, Thursday, we were checking in, we were feeling out, the stadium and everything in there. And I was just feeling good. I was resting well, was recovering well. And then Friday morning, I wake up. Actually, it started Thursday night. I started to have very bad stomach pains, more than just like cramping. I couldn't even explain it. I had my chiropractor, Dr. Chad T from Cook Chiro. He travels with us as much as he can, and he's always taking care of us. And I just messaged him. I'm like, I feel just so odd and so weird. And he comes over and does some treatment. And I got to feel better. And then Friday morning, I wake up, and within maybe 10 minutes of walking around and trying to get some fresh air, I just remember a truck passed by, and just like as soon as that truck passed by, almost on cue, I start to throw up in the front yard. And that's how my morning started, and it just continued. And Friday at the MAC, the first event was a 1 rep max snatch. A couple more other events in there trickled in, some skiing, some torque tank events, and some other ones. And I remember I was just like, okay, I still have time. I have time to get better. We just need to figure this out. Maybe I could get some food down. Maybe it was just like a one-time thing. I couldn't get any food down, like no eating. I could barely like sip on water. I was just drinking and like drinking some carbs, some UCAN carbs. And then we threw up again. I was just throwing up. And then eventually we eventually like try to make all the calls, like my nutritionist, my agent Cooper, my chiro was involved. My boyfriend was running around crazy. Like Scott, who's my training partner, had no idea at the time. I wanted to like get his advice on like something, like what would, the veteran do? But he was, and so we got to the medic team, and the medic team took care of me. And then it was just damage control by that time. And it was consistently pretty much doing an event, going nauseous, throwing up, doing another event, nauseous. And it was just like all weekend. At that point, I was just like, I hope I just finish. I hope I don't have to like, no part of me wanted to withdraw. I was just like, well, if I throw up, I throw up. If I throw up on the floor, I throw up on the floor. That was kind of my mindset. Like, I'm here, I'm ready. Everything else is good. So, and I finished the weekend, unfortunately, in 7th. And I remember the last event, there was no chance of me like bumping up enough points to get into the 5th spot. But I just remember like, I'm going to go down with a solid fight. And Jessica Griffith, just an incredible athlete. She was in the lane next to me. We were just like fighting for every single second. And for her, it actually very much mattered. And I remember rewatching the event, and they said 100th of a second or something.
I'm getting goosebumps. I remember watching that. There was literally 100th of a second.
It was just like rep for rep for rep. She crossed, then I immediately crossed, and she got to go to the games by 100th of a second. And it was between her and Christine. So 7th place got me to the last chance qualifier.
Yeah. And that went pretty well for you as well. I mean, I hope you didn't have the exact same weekend that you did it at the MAC. How did that go?
Yeah, no way. My God. No, last chance qualifier. It was, for those that aren't familiar, it was, the top girls that sat just outside the 5 spots. They took one more at the MAC, considering some people that Tia who couldn't travel to Oceania. So it was another stack of 30 of the top women, considering their respective semifinals, competing in 4 events. And by 4 events, yes, you had to qualify among the top 2. And I just, the workouts, the events came out, and I was excited, except for the 1 rep max deadlift. I'm very much known to be more like on the lighter side. The weights that I thrive in are light to moderate, and maybe some of like the, higher percentages, but like just 1 rep maxes for me are just something that has taken me so long to develop. It's not that I'm not working on it, but it's one of those that it kind of is what it is at that point. Right. And so I did my best to give it hell on all the events, and it was the 1 rep max or snatch. It was deadlift that, I think I placed, I don't know, it was like really bad. It was like a 25th place, 26th place finish out of 30 girls. And to come back from that, you have to consistently be getting like 1st place, 2nd place, 3rd place. And that's kind of where we were able to finish the weekend, yes, in 7th place, but with a lot learned and a lot realized, and not that I haven't realized that before, but I think the focus now in the off season, there's a clear picture on where our focus is. And I'm excited to really take that on.
This season, I feel there's been so many athletes that's been plagued with injury and illness. And I'm not just talking about COVID. We all know what happened to several of the athletes at the games, but I'm just talking, before the Open, during the Open, in quarterfinals, the athletes have really, suffered from severe injuries and illness and so on. Take us through that mindset and what you go through in a weekend like MAC, knowing that you are at your, you're at your best, you feel great, you can make it, knowing that you ended the weekend in 7th, not feeling great at all, meaning you could have placed pretty high, and made it to the games. Talk to us about that conversation in your head and with your coaches, just accepting what is happening, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you hit it actually right on the head on that last bit. Like, you have that situation, whatever that situation looks like. Every athlete experiences at some point, I'm pretty convinced. And there's a situation in front of you that is happening and you can't fix it, you can't control it. What do you do? The first thing that I did was cry, actually. Once you get the tears out and you figure like there's no reason to be sad because it is what it is. But it's okay. It happens. Like, I'm just saying, because it happens. You do get sad and you do have a lot of emotions, but you talk to your team. So that was the number one thing that got me through, was getting my team together. And my team consisted of my nutrition coach, my agent, my boyfriend, my family, my friends that were there, but also, I was leaning on my training partner, who at the end of the day, he is the one that knows me the best. He is with me every single day, 8 hours a day. Like, so if I'm going to take just almost like the mentality side and the encouraging side, he was also the one that I needed in my corner. And I did eventually. And it was, you talk to your team and it's them and you that just talking through that and knowing and just trusting that everything that you need to do is already in you. And it was kind of one of those moments where it was just like, feel like you're the training is already in there. Like, it's in your bones, it's in your muscles, it's in your flesh. It's up here, right? That you need to just pour it out. And knowing that everything that I needed to do to perform well and to potentially still make it, I had in me. It wasn't that I didn't have something that I couldn't show, was very encouraging. And to just finding those moments to spin a situation that's out of your control, more finding about, okay, this is out of my control, but what actually can I control? And there was still a lot that I could control, right? How I took on mentally each event, how I talked to myself, how I pumped myself up through warm up instead of being like, oh, this sucks. Oh, I'm so fatigued. I have no nutrition in me. I'm scared. Like, being like, oh, I still got this. I remember doing this in training. Let's see, I remember a warm up that really pumped me up. Let's go through that. Picking songs that are just finding anything. And the more I talk, and I just remember, if we could all attach microphones in our head, I think everyone would love that. The conversations, I just remember going through each event after, the first one that didn't go necessarily the way that I wanted to, but I was walking away being like, oh my God, I hit something that I hit once in a blue moon. Like, I still hit a weight, which is heavy for me, not heavy to most girls, but it's still like a win to me. So I was walking away being like, okay, I was sick, but I also haven't hit that in a very long time. Like, that's a freaking win. And each event was like, okay, here we go. Okay, breathe. You got this. Oh, you're feeling good. Oh, a girl, you're passing another girl. Heck yeah. Oh, you could hold on to a couple more. It was just like finding small moments to talk to yourself and coach yourself in a positive way. That was my entire weekend. I almost had no care in the world, like what other girls got necessarily, or what were the scores to be. It was just like, finish, do your best, and be proud of, whatever your best looks like in that moment. And just my team around me, like every single event, checking in, making sure I had what I needed. I had as much fuel as I could get down, making sure I was at least trying to eat too. So they were the ones that were like literally like just pushing me along. And I think we all need those people in our lives. And at the end of the day, I couldn't think of like the what ifs, what if I was healthy? Because I wasn't. Like, what if I qualified, and then I didn't have to do well, it's almost pointless to think that way, the what ifs. And you could have made it if you were, well, it didn't happen. And we finished and we were like, okay, let's get healthy and let's kill it in the last chance qualifier and do our best. A lot of self-talk happens, and it could be self-destructive.
Absolutely.
Or it could, build you up in the best ways.
What was Scott's advice for the listeners? Scott Panchik, obviously, he retired this year. A fantastic career. We'll talk about that a bit later, but just his advice to you, your training partner.
Yeah, he's one of the best athletes, not just physically, but just mentally, just one of the grittiest. And I was sobbing in his kitchen, like trying to eat breakfast. He's like, I just remember he goes, Fee, listen, I wouldn't say this if I didn't have love for you, right? He goes, you have gone through way worse, which vividly remember, yes, I remember I competed in Italy, little short story, competed in Italy, had pretty much asthma attack all weekend. My asthma flared up and I couldn't breathe during events.
Wow.
And I didn't have my inhaler. I almost withdrew. I remember being in the ambulance after the second to last event, and I just like had bronchitis. My asthma flared up, and it was asthma attack after each event, like in the corner, trying to inhale and drink honey and inhale Vicks Vapor Rub. And it was so bad. I'd almost take what I experienced at the MAC. Oh, if anyone has asthma, they know that all you want to do is breathe. And if you can't breathe, it's awful. So he told me that. He goes, you have gone through way worse. You have trained for to be able to take on way more. He goes, there's nothing in my mind, like no doubt in my mind that you can't do amazing. And just hearing from someone else that probably knows you better than you know yourself, being like, hey, I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried. And it was the most encouraging thing. And once he told me and talked to me about, all the great things that I think are very good, positive for me as an athlete, I want to believe that I have an ability to stay calm, or whether maybe I'm feeling that or not, I try to look as calm as I can. He goes, you have this ability to stay calm and stay composed and trust yourself. And as soon as you start doing that, you do things that you will impress yourself by. And that was the kind of conversation that we had going into, I believe, the last two events. And it was everything I needed to hear, just that. And it turned out okay.
I think it turned out more than okay. I mean, I think anybody else, obviously you guys train for these type of things, but in the position that you were in and still qualifying for the last chance qualifier, I mean, that's just phenomenal, knowing that you basically didn't eat for 3 days.
Yeah.
If I skip breakfast, I'm useless. So
I remember weighing myself just because out of curiosity. I remember weighing myself, and I think we lost about 6 pounds that week.
Wow.
Yeah, I did have a pizza on Sunday when I was feeling the best after it, and it was the best pizza my body has ever tasted. It was amazing.
Talk to us about training with Scott Panchik. When did it start? You say obviously you guys spend a ton of time together. He's your training partner, but not your coach. So where did all of this start, and how is it training with one of the best and most consistent athletes our sport has ever seen?
It is, training with him is so hard, but in the best ways. If I could just say it simply, it would be that. It is so rewarding because you get to push. He's so, like I said, he's so experienced, and there's great coaches, but when you get someone that is just so great at what they do in the sport, but also as experienced as he is, actually one of the first that has, he is one of the first. And to bring that along every single day, you get to see sides that not all athletes get to understand because they don't train with that experience. And that you become a better athlete. I'm very convinced in that way, that the more experience you also gain along the way. And a lot of times the experiences come with competing, right? Not necessarily alone in your gym training, and a lot of athletes do that as well. And I get to walk in, to our gym and train with him, all day, and we just talk about not just competing, but life, how you handle yourself in moments of adversity, how you handle yourself in moments that aren't going your way in training, which sounds silly. Like, athletes get so upset with themselves in training, and it beats them down. And sure enough, it could spit you out too. And if you take yourself, if you keep yourself down for too long in training and working together, that's why we see each other as training partners. It's never been a competitive day. I walk in trying to perform my best and do my best, and it will always push him to do his best. And then he pushes his absolute best every single day, mentally and physically, and it rubs off me. And doing that every single day produces something really, really, really incredible. And it's just an honor. To say that that's who my training partner is. He's become my big brother. He's my best friend. He's like my mentor in all things in life and spiritually and, you know, physically and emotionally. And it's really cool. And I'm so proud of, you know, how he's been able to, even just what he did at the games and how he carried himself. That's who he is. Like, I get to see that every single day. And the fact that the world got to see it within, you know, just a couple days, it's cool to be able to experience that, you know, Monday through Saturday on the highs and on the lows. And he's continuing on to rehab and get back to health and continue on. But it's cool to be able to carry those lessons. And he's still in my corner. And even though maybe he's not training to compete, I know there's definitely going to, you know, be this continued training, I guess, maybe in a different way, as he you know, keeps me pushing along. So I'm excited.
Talk to us about coaching. Who's your coach?
So I actually haven't officially announced it.
Oh, okay.
So this will be the first, but I'm very excited. I'm actually in the off season. I'm signing with, and I'm going on to Brute Strength with Matt Torres. Wow. I'm very excited. And the reason that I look forward to that, to be honest, after seeing, you know, his athletes grow, he has some very young athletes, some very young teenager athletes that are up and coming, and they're not leaving anytime soon. And they are going to be, you know, the top of the top in just, you know, a couple years. And I saw, I was very much drawn to Emma Carey is someone that we've connected, we've chatted a little bit. And I actually got to chat with her at the games. And I just look at someone like her. She's just an incredible athlete. She's been doing it for actually as long as I've been doing it, except at a way younger age. But just, I was very impressed with how her strength has evolved and how she has evolved mentally as an athlete. It seems like she just has this fire, and like she locks in and she's like ready to go. And I'm looking at it and I'm kind of seeing it all happen on the games floor. And I'm like, I was very impressed with how she's been taken through and really evolved. And I know that I also need to evolve in a way where, by next year, I want to lock it in at the games, and I want to have no holes, or I want to close as many holes as I can, right? That's always the chase, right? And I was very drawn to that. And so I reached out to Matt Torres at Brute Strength. We chatted. I explored some different options and some other options as well, but that was the one that I locked in. And so the goal of this offseason is definitely to really hone in and really build some strength, some good strength, some high power output, and gain maybe a little bit some mass, some size along the way. So he's partnering with my nutritionist my nutrition coach plays a big role in this as well. But yeah, so Matt Torres on Brute Strength is my coach, and I'm like looking forward to all the crazy training that's about to happen. I know it's going to be very hard, but I hope to be a different athlete next season.
Very exciting. And I can imagine that, you know, there's so many options out there. There's so many great athletes with so many great coaches, and picking a coach and sticking to a program it's hard work as the sport evolves. You were talking about Emma Carey. I had an opportunity to chat to her in the week. She got ill, so we couldn't finish our chat. But she's so confident, but not cocky. She's so confident, but still humble. Which was something that I noticed in the brief minutes that we got to chat. So very exciting. So when you say your training is starting this week, do you have an idea how it will look? Are you easing back into things, or are they gonna throw a few 100 maxes at you? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, so I've been doing some testing these actually last couple of weeks, and testing is more about just seeing where my strength numbers are at, seeing where my even endurance and some of my strength numbers are at, also seeing some aerobic thresholds, some anaerobic thresholds, some long distance, short distance on some monostructural work, and also some different variations of some gymnastics movements, and seeing where my capacity is there with body weight. And so we've been doing more of that testing just to get a good understanding for him to get a good understanding in me where I'm at. And I've had moments of like, oh, heck yeah, like we still got it. And then I've had moments like, man, like numbers aren't going up. Like there's a certain that I'm like, I can't strict press more weight than, I've been strict pressing the same numbers the last 3 years. I've been deadlift maxing the same numbers the last 3. So there's certain things that I'm like so upset because, well, naturally, because I'm like, I put in all this work these last 2 years, and there's certain things when it comes to strength that haven't gone up, and they haven't gone up for a reason. And it's because the way that we train, or I've trained before, obviously brute strength. Right now, we haven't even gotten into like the bulk of it, but it's with Scott and training with Scott, like I said, is extremely hard. It is high volume, all time high volume, but you get very, very good at like hurting a lot in any metabolic conditioning events, like any gymnastics. I mean, we're doing gymnastics and burpee action movers and odd object work and all the strict handstand push-ups and toe to bar and ring muscle ups. And you do it, we call it the rinse and repeat. So we do intervals on intervals on intervals, on sets on sets on sets. And you get very good at just sustaining that level. But Scott doesn't need strength work is the problem. Like
No, he
is fine with a 500-pound back squat, 300-pound snatch, and he is okay in strength. And that's kind of where these last 3 years training with Scott, we kind of have this running little joke where he's kind of the shark. And you know how on a big shark, there's always that like little fish. We don't even know what it's called. Right on yeah, it just latches on. It does nothing. It doesn't get eaten. It's just there for the ride. And that's been me these last like couple years, right? Since probably after 2018, after making my first individual regionals. After that, I've just latched on to Scott, and I've just been doing what Scott does. And you do enough of what Scott does, you get really good at certain things. But when you don't focus on the things that you need, then those holes, get missed. And that's where I think I'm very confident Matt Torres and brute strength is definitely going to help me evolve. And it's something that it's cool to have Scott, supporting that and, leading me on still, but with more specific programming from the coaching standpoint to who I am as an athlete. And I think that's also where the sport is going and continues to go. The best athletes in the world, those that are standing on the podium, they're not doing it on their own. It's very hard to do it on your own. And when you have someone that's understanding and seeing everything that you're doing and laying it all out and programming specifically to what you need, you become the best athlete that you can. So that's kind of where things are heading. And we're going to continue to test a little bit more and then dive into the true off-season strength training.
I mean, it's a lot that happens in the box and with the training. You mentioned that you guys are together, you and Scott specifically, for 8 hours a day. What does a training day look like for you? And I mean, I know you very well educated. We'll chat about that as well. So are you working? Are you just training? Is this your main focus? Or, what does a day look in Fee's life?
So as of now, training, or as of kind of preparing for the games, well, these last couple of years, I went back to school to take some science prerequisites, for more the long-term post-sport, definitely in love with the healthcare profession when it comes to, physical therapy and the holistic and, working with people in a more holistic way when it comes to also just movement and using movement to make people feel not only to cure people out of pain, but also to add more life back into them. It's something that I get to do with my chiropractor, right, every single day. And it's something that I get to do as a coach in some way, in a very special way at CrossFit Mentality. So, and just using those different things, it's something that I continue to fall in love with. And so I was taking some classes, physics, OChem, biology, chemistry, all those, very basic courses, and up until last semester. And so a day in the life was looking, I would wake up early, I would study, I get some homework done, I would go train, I would have a morning session. Depending on what our schedules would look like, I was able to hop in with Scott, train for a couple hours, study, whether it's go back to school, travel back to school, then come back, coach, and then train at night or train in the evening. So it was pretty much kind of like that, literally same thing every single day. Wake up, study, train, eat, school, train, eat, coach, every day. And some days look different than others. And then as of last spring, I'm taking this next gap year to really dedicate myself as an athlete. I'm at a point where I can, which I'm very blessed. I'm very, very blessed to have the support that I do. As I signed on with some great brands that also believe in me, which is just the biggest support in the world as an athlete. And so now, pretty much as the life of an athlete is also very routine. It is, now everything outside of the training walls also is what you're focused on making and as efficient and as best as you can. That's going to give you the best results in training and the best results when you recover. So it's getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I traveled yesterday and I was snoozing my alarm because I'm not ready. My body's not ready yet. Sleeping 8 to 10 hours a day. I wake up, I eat. I always have a humongous breakfast, and then my first morning session my morning session, and is very important. It's very important for us to have 2 different sessions at least to get the best quality and intensity in what we're doing, as volume ramps up, especially. And then after training, I just have about an hour or so to eat. And that's kind of my time to lay back, lay low. But I usually don't do that. I'm usually it's me with a plate and I'm in class, just talking to people or watch. I'm in the gym just about 8 to 10 hours a day. And so I'm just eating a little bit and then I'll go back to training. So it's just eat lunch and get back to training, and that's another several hours. And then after that, after I'm done with training, I get to coach. And I get to coach at Mentality. I'm the evening coach, usually taking on the last 2 classes, and it's so rewarding. I don't coach because I have to. I coach because I love it. No part of me is there because I have to hold a coaching position to be able to be part of that community. It's something that I actually started at CrossFit Mentality as a member, just going to class every single day, just like everyone else. Followed, CrossFit Mentality programming, and I created amazing friendships. And then I eventually dove into I just want to coach. I'm an exercise science major, and that's at John Carroll, and I studied that because I love it. I love that side of health and wellness, and to be able to pour into other people and myself. I took on coaching, and I started off with just this it was an internship class. And I started to work with young kids at Mentality. And there were a couple parents, and I remember reaching out to parents, asking, would your 4-year-old want to take a class? And then eventually I started with, a class of kids as young as 4 years old, 5 years old, and then eventually some young teenagers. And then I coached them for a little bit. And then I pursued, obviously, my CrossFit level 1. And then I started to coach sessions at Mentality, and it's kind of just taken off from there. So the coaching part is a big part of my day as much as training is.
When did you decide, or when did that switch go from just taking class to, okay, I want to compete? And what's your history in sport, your background prior to CrossFit?
Yeah, so prior to CrossFit, I actually joined a CrossFit affiliate, not CrossFit Mentality. It was somewhere closer to my house. And I joined because I was in a place, I was 19 years old. I was a freshman at John Carroll, and I was 19. And I just remember I was just at a point in my life where I was so sad with myself, my body, how I felt. I didn't really have necessarily a group of friends that were like me, that wanted to kind of pursue something other than the typical college life, which we all, I think, are familiar with. The going out, the, staying up late, the weekends, all those things. And I just got to the point where I'm I'm so done feeling like this. Very much I wanted to stay in all the time. I was mentally not in a good space. And so anyways, I was introduced to CrossFit. And someone that I was with at the time introduced me like, hey, look at some of these videos. This is actually pretty cool. It's something fun. It's something that you get to be part of a community. And just that little bit, I, walked into my first community, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much better than an elliptical. And I mean, I walked in, I fell in love with it. I eventually created some great friendships there. And then, because my main sport was always volleyball, but more at a high school level. It wasn't anything elite. It wasn't anything, obviously, top in the state prospect high school, like it was just high school volleyball. I did play varsity. I started as a freshman varsity, and that's just about the best accolades I just about have on my high school volleyball resume. I didn't start really from anything other than that. I mean, I wasn't anything elite, college, nothing. I mean, I did some club college volleyball, which is very relaxed. You're not training for that. And by the time I started CrossFit, at that time, I was actually probably like 25 pounds overweight, poor eating habits, poor, mental habits, just poor lifestyle habits in general. So I was not healthy, and I didn't know what a PVC pipe overhead squat was. I didn't know what a snatch was. I know what a burpee was. I knew like a push-up, and I know how to air squat. That was just about it. And that's where we started. Clean slate, to say the least. And then as soon as actually Scott came out with, I had known Scott as an athlete. I've been started to follow CrossFit as a sport, and I thought it was so cool. And the more that I saw like these strong women at regionals and go to the games, I'm sitting where I'm sitting now. I remember just watching the games and regionals and all these things, and I would just be screaming at my computer, like cheering for people that I don't even know. I remember Julie Fouché was one of them, and now we get to be good friends. And I want to be one of those strong girls, and just like, I think I can, like, I could do this. I just want to do something that maybe I never gave myself enough credit to do before, and to give myself that opportunity. I think we're all human. We bleed the same. Like, why not? So I checked Scott's gym, CrossFit Mentality, and just, I fell in love with the community. They were so welcoming. I mean, I feel like I walked out with a new group of friends within an hour. It was the best experience of my little life, and I thought that was so great. And I remember doing actually my first open. I was still kind of a member at this old gym. I remember doing my first open with Scott just to try out, a little bit more of the community. So Scott was like judging me in my first open, and it went so well. It was so well because I was so proud. It was my first open. So after that, I remember at the time I was also doing little local competitions, and the moment that I wanted to pursue CrossFit as a true sport was, I remember, like, I would set these very small goals. Like, I wanted to just do local competitions. I would do local competitions. And then I continued the open. And then eventually there was a point where I was like, I think I was like 200 something in the open. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do, like, I think I could get, like, I think I could do this. I think I could get there. And the first goal was getting a team there, team to regionals. That eventually happened in 2017. And it was myself, his wife, Kristen Panchik, another friend, and then Chad Teague, who is my chiropractor, Spencer Panchik, and another member from the gym. So we got our first mentality team at a regionals. That was 2017. I went 2017 as a team. I walked away being like, I want to do individual. Like, I'm still looking at these girls, and like, team is so fun for so many reasons, but I was like, I want to do it, and I want it all on me, and I want to be on that floor as an individual the next year. And we went back, and I let it be known to Scott, whatever that looked like. And we're like, okay, let's like work on that. And so training amped up. I started to do more. I just needed more. I just remember going to Scott and be like, what else can I do? So we just did more conditioning, right? Conditioning is king, more conditioning. I still did classes though, which was very funny. I still, to get to the 2018 individual regionals, I was in class taking training every single day with everyone and anyone who was in class, right? It was cool. It was such a cool experience. And to say that I got to my first regionals taking classes just shows that it's the magic is in the programming and the person.
Absolutely.
And it's not like taking classes doesn't mean you have, you know, an easier workout or you're better than ever. Like at all. Like I still love taking classes every now and then in the off season. I just, you know, like go into class, and it's cool to work out with moms and grandparents and uncles and, you know, teenagers that are just starting. So yeah, so then 2018 regionals happened. And then after I got, I think 30th place at regionals, not the best, but my first regionals. After that,
the last regionals.
Yeah, and my last regionals, right? First and last. After that, I was like, I won't make it to the games, which was like very ambitious after a finish like that. But the rules changed. They said you could qualify among the top 20 in the open or whatever that looked like, and or qualify after that at a sanctional event. And I remember writing down my goal for 2019, which was the year that I qualified, was I just want to hang with the top girls. And I think I got 24th in the open that year.
Wow.
And qualified for my first games doing that. And I was just, a lot of work went into that year. And I just remember almost being scared to say I want to go to the games. So I just put hang with the top girls and whatever that looked like.
And you did definitely.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
So yeah, it's great to hear that, you know, it started gradually, because so many of these girls started their careers in some other sport and form and did really, really well. So it's awesome to hear, you know, that you also just started from the bottom and now you're here. and I think it's great, you know, you're talking about still doing class and making it to regionals. Ariel Lowen, who's now 14th fittest woman on earth, still takes classes. She only trains once a day, an hour and a half, and maybe 2 hours every now and then in the week. And it's still cool to see that it, at the end of the day, it comes down to the programming and what you do with, you know, what you're given. If you're in class, if you're going to half-ass, that's what you're going to get out of it, you know. And at the end of the day, it's what you give in, if it's class, if it's PT or whatever it is that you're doing. So congratulations on you know, putting in the hard work. And yes, the season didn't turn out the way that you wanted it, but yeah, upwards and onwards. And you, with the new coaching, very, very exciting time. So with the off, well, not off year, but you know, your main focus is training. Looking ahead, you know, when everything is said and done and you decide to hang up your nanos or Reebok or Nikes or whatever you you wear, your nobles, let's put that
Reebok, Nano,
Reebok, Nano, whatever.
Yeah.
So what is the plan? Because you're very educated, you know, you're very driven, you know, in sports science and so on. You've got your MBA. So what is the plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the plan as of right now is taking what I love and putting that into what, if that looks like physical therapy, if that looks like chiropractic. I'm leaning more towards physical therapy or whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like, I want to be helping people. I want to take what I love, which is fitness and overall health and lifestyle and nutrition, and I want to pour it into someone else. And I want to use what has given so much life and back in my day. I want to be able maybe to give that back to someone. So that's why I've kind of been pursuing and going back and taking some classes to, you know, in a future, you know, pursue another graduate degree. But physical therapy is kind of in there that I'm exploring, and I continue to evolve myself with those kinds of professionals in a way. And it's in a way that's very special that not a lot of students get, because they spend their time in the classroom. And I'm a very big believer that you get to find who you are and grow in ways that you can't outside of the classroom. And it's cool to kind of immerse myself in that. And I mean, I'm 27, and I wouldn't have changed a single thing. Like the whole, knowing what you want to do at the beginning of your college career, high school career, or whatever that is, without these life experiences and maybe a little bit of change in trajectory is something I wouldn't like. Get out the classroom, try new things, try new sports, talk to people, immerse yourself in different disciplines. And it's I've been doing that since I've graduated. And it's crazy to say I have 2 degrees and I'm still like on this trajectory. I'm still pushing along. Wouldn't have changed it for the world, because I don't think that I'd be where I am today in sport. I don't think I'd be as passionate about certain things if I was just in the classroom. So I'm using this next year to really just pour into what I love and into the people that I love. And I'm very confident it's going to push me in the right direction post sport. But I'm just tapping into it. So I'm hopefully here to stay for a good amount of time.
Yeah. No, that's still way in the future. It's just interesting to find out, because I know, you know, I could see you're very educated. You're obviously planning on the future. And it's so important, you know, to know that at some point, either you're going to decide this is where it ends, or, you know, you might, God forbid, be plagued by an injury or whatever, you know, life throws at you, that you plan ahead. We see a lot of our rugby players in South Africa. Rugby is very big, that they don't plan. It's just, it is what it is. And, you know, it's sport, and then something happens and then there's nothing else. Their identity is, you know, is their sport. So it's so cool to see that, you know, your passion is, you've got so many passions and things that you will pursue eventually when all of this, when you decide that this is,
and that's
you don't
where,
want to do this professionally anymore.
Absolutely. And sport is a short-lived life. And at the end of the day, you are more than your sport. And the people that you guys see on the field and performing rugby, CrossFit, swimming, whatever that is, their life seems to be so consumed in sport because that's what it takes to be the best, but it's not your identity. It's not who you are. I'm very convinced of that. And I think planning ahead and just pouring in what you love into different ways is something that's going to give you more purpose, because sport could also be stopped within an injury and within a second. So but in the moment, I'm very present and excited for what's to come.
So much more to come. Very excited to watch you in the off season, and as we approach the Open. I can't believe it's 5.5 months away. It feels just like the other day that, you know, we were throwing it down for 3 weeks. Thank God it's 3 weeks, not 5 weeks anymore. I don't know how we did it.
I
don't know. Honestly, this will be, I think coming Open will be my 9th or 10th Open. I'm not even sure. And I don't even know how we did it for 5 weeks. So it's, I'm so thankful. It's just 3 weeks. It's just too stressful. But anyway, thinking that it's around the corner, it's very exciting, and looking forward to see what you do with the new programming, with your new coach. Still having Scott in your corner, and just excited to see you throw everything at this next year, and good luck. It's going to be exciting.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm pumped.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Just Elite. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and please, please, please leave a comment.